Hello, everybody. I can see some people are joining us and have, right. If you could just let me know if you can hear me. There's a chat section at the bottom. If you can just let me know that if you can hear me. Hi, everybody. We're just trying to get everybody here on this platform. As you all know, this was supposed to be a Facebook Live session, but I think there's some issues with Facebook today. There's some technical snag with the video signals. So we have not been able to log in there, and we're directing everybody to this platform. Yes, I can see Andy reaching out. Yes, you can hear us. Okay, that's perfect. All right, thank you so much for confirming. Just let's just give it a couple of minutes, and we will begin our webinar very soon. Just giving us a few minutes for people to join in if there's anybody else who's joining us. Otherwise, we will carry on. So in the meantime, while we're still waiting for everybody to join us, it'll be great to know a little bit about you. So if you could let me know your names, I see on the panel, but if you could let me know your name and the city you're joining from, that'll be great. And also, please feel free to let us know if you're a student, if you're a parent, if you're a school counselor. It'll be great to kind of have an idea of who's joining us today. So please do feel free to put in your, comments and let us know. All right, thank you so much for joining us, Andy, Sturi, I can see from New Delhi. We have a few other attendees as well. I'm just going to try and share my screen and let's see if you can see that. So when we have to start the session, we're all set. Right, I think you can see my tab for the presentation. For an enhanced audio quality, I would recommend that all of you use your microphones, your earphones or your headphones. All right, I think we have a few more people who've joined us. Thank you so much for your patience. And thank you for joining us. So I'll begin since we've been delayed a little bit because of technical issues on Facebook. Thank you so much for migrating to this particular platform. We were just asking everybody to let us know where you're signing in from. So if you could just let us know your names and the city you're joining us from, it'll be great. Please do keep, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, you can post them in the questions pane that you can see. And I will take all questions towards the end of the session. Today's sessions, everybody is about how to make the most of your school break. I know for a lot of students, their school breaks are going to be starting very soon. And we've in fact been getting a lot of questions on from parents and students on what should we do considering the situation that we're all in at the moment. So just a little bit about us before we get in. I know some of you are regulars with us. Thank you so much for coming on again. We are Education USA, your official source on US higher education. And today we're going to be talking about an undergraduate session on making the most of your school break. A lot of students and parents do talk about profile building. So we're going to be touching upon that topic today. And largely this session is about how students can really maximize their time when they're not at school or while they're at school as well, besides their syllabus and their curriculum. So just to introduce myself, I am Astha Virk Singh. I'm the senior advisor at the New Delhi Center. Education USA has a presence in 7 cities here in India. So I'm just going to move on to my slides. So like I said, we are the official source, and we basically, our mission is to provide students with information which is accurate, current, and comprehensive, but most importantly, unbiased. So we are happy to help students to apply to so many universities in the US, 4,500 plus accredited institutions in the US. So we do not really represent any one particular university or 10 universities or so. We are open to to students applying to any accredited institution in the US. We are supported by the US Department of State, so we are funded by that by the government of America, and we are present in 170 plus countries. So we're a huge network. We have about 435 centers around the world, 7 of which are in India, and we are hosted by different institutions and organizations in India. So for those of you who do not know, our centers in Chennai, Hyderabad, Kolkata, Mumbai, and New Delhi are hosted by the United States India Educational Foundation, which is also known as the Fulbright Commission in India. We are also, we have 2 other centers which are managed and hosted by the Indo-American Education Society at Ahmedabad and the Yashna Trust in Bangalore. So this makes up Education USA India. And at the moment, we are virtual. We are one big entity. So please do feel free to reach out to any of us, and we are happy to help you. So I'll go a little bit into the services that we have at the moment in case you have any questions on how you want to connect with us. We have a national toll-free line for the moment. As you know, because of the current situation, our centers are closed, but students and parents can call us up Monday to Friday, 10 to 5. We do regular basic sessions every day on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3:30, and on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 11:30 in the morning. So if you have any questions, you want to talk to an advisor, you just want to run an idea with us or brainstorm, please feel free to join us, and we will be happy to talk to you. Just like this session today, we are doing more specialized sessions every week. Many of these sessions are done by US universities or current students or even alumni. So please do join us, and our list of sessions is up on our Facebook page and several other spaces as well. We are doing Facebook chats as well, and we also are offering individual advising memberships. So if you have any other questions about these services, please do get in touch with us. And we also have the Education USA India mobile app that we have recently launched. Please go ahead and download that app to be in touch with us and get more updates. So just a quick one, our national toll-free line again. I'll put up the number again for you to note down later, but this is where we are at. So just diving into the presentation now, let's talk a little bit about this profile building, right? I know a lot of students and parents, hear this because this is widely publicized as one of the services that a lot of agents and consultants and organizations will offer you, because we all know that US universities follow a holistic admissions process. So what does it mean by holistic admissions? Besides your quantitative aspects, so they do want to see your marks, they want to see how well you scored at school, if you have any standardized testing that you had to do, for example, the SAT or the ACT, they also want to know your marks from your scores, right? But besides what you have been doing at school in terms of marks and your grades, etc., universities are also looking at qualitative aspects of students. So they want to see how do you spend your time, when you're free. Maybe that could be at school when you're doing co-curricular activities, or could be extracurricular activities that you're doing outside of school. So that kind of gives an idea to universities as to what kind of a person you are. Okay, what are you interested in? Also, it is a bit of a predictor for universities to kind of understand that, okay, the student might be doing certain similar things when they come to our campus, right? So they are using innovative methods to assess students. It's no longer just based on marks and cutoffs, etc. In fact, Indian institutions are no longer assessing students like that, many of them. They're moving into, looking into qualitative aspects as well. So they will be requesting you for letters of recommendation. They will be asking you for essays that you need to write, right? And your resume that you have to submit. So all of these things, along with this increased competition at US universities, that is why a lot of students need to kind of think a little bit about what more besides my curriculum, my syllabus, right? So profile building really is really not a definition. There's no clear definition out there which you will kind of find in a dictionary, but it broadly is in any activity that kind of raises your profile or your public awareness of what you're good at, your skill set, your achievements, and the things that you're involved in, to advance your career or to even advance or look good on your US university application. So today I'm talking about profile building or maximizing your time, not just from the point of view of a US university application. That of course is a goal for a lot of students, but this sort of activity is useful for you regardless, whether you go to a US university, a UK university, an Indian university. This will always just come handy, the kind of activities that you can kind of do. So with US applications, one thing to remember is that it's not enough to just state it. You also must demonstrate it, so you need to show certain skills, etc. And this is not necessarily in terms of certificates. A lot of parents will come and say, ma'am, we don't have certificates, or we have so many certificates. So how do we get these across to US universities? You'd be surprised to know that US universities really don't need to look at your certificates, because the evidence for what you have done is available in your application itself, right? So you will probably talk about some activity that you're into in your essay, right? Your teacher who's writing a school a recommendation for you might vouch for the same activity because they've seen you do that at school, right? So it's all a story that kind of ties in together, and you don't necessarily have to submit scanned copies of your certificates. So don't be in a rush or a race to collect as many certificates as possible. That's not really the point of profile building, or building your resume and your maximizing your time when you have free time, right? So that's just a little bit about profile building. At Education USA, we don't really kind of have a concept called profile building. We talk to students, we brainstorm ideas with them, but there isn't a service that we provide and say, what, this is what you need to do in grade 9, grade 8. There is no set formula. There is no standard template that students should use. Every student is unique, and we'll come to that shortly. Okay. So in terms of when you're thinking about what activities should I do, there's a huge amount of things that you can do. Just right now, talking a little bit about the situation that we're in, we all know that for our own safety and health and things like that, we are in the house right now. We are at home. And even now, I am bombarded with information on what I can be doing when I'm sitting at home, right? So there's endless number of opportunities, and some will work for me, some will not, right? Similarly for you, all activities do not apply to you. You do not have to have a checklist and go through that checklist and say, hey, US university applications, I need to do this. No, there isn't a set list like this. Okay, so the first thing really is to reflect. A lot of students just jump into activities because they feel like they need to. Okay, but you must really reflect and see what is it that you are trying to do with this profile building or activities, etc. So look back on your year. You could be in grade 9, you could be in grade 10 or 11. Now US universities are mostly looking at your profiles and your life really from grade 9 to 12. So this is why we talk about these 4 particular years. But a student could very well be doing things in grade 7 or since they are age 5, So it isn't just these 4 years. It is also what you've been doing before this. But of course, in your application, the 4 years really get highlighted. Okay, so when you're looking back on your year or your few years that you've been, so think a little bit about, what do I want to learn, or how has it been so far for me? Do I feel a gap in my learning somewhere? Do I want to have a little bit of fun doing something, or do I want to upskill myself, right? So do make certain points down maybe, and see, students, everybody is different, right? Like the slide tells you that different folks, and so there are different strokes for different folks. Now some of us are people who are very organized. Okay, we will have a set plan for everything that we do, but there are others who do not. Okay, so think a little bit about, why am I doing this activity? So are you trying to make a statement? Are you trying to learn something? Are you trying to tell people that, hey, because of this, this activity that I've done, this is what it says about me? So if I'm doing a particular sort of community service, if I'm volunteering at, say, an organization, it also tells people about me that I am somebody who feels strongly for this cause, or I'm somebody who's compassionate, but you don't necessarily have to make a statement with every activity that you're doing. Sometimes you will do activities just for the love of it, for the fun of it. And we do encourage students to do just that. Not everything is an activity with an agenda. Okay, so please remember this. It's not something to burden you with. This is supposed to be an exploratory sort of an activity. Please make it that, and don't make it a tiresome, burdensome sort of a situation for you. Okay, and these activities, like I mentioned, are universally beneficial. So obviously these will come handy wherever you go, whichever stage in life. Okay, so we do tell students that do set goals. I have a lot of students who come and say, they start with a vague idea, but we try and encourage them to kind of have a plan. So there should be, those SMART goals, right? So specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So don't be like, oh, I'll do this course at some point in time. Do have certain deadlines, have a certain plan, because that will keep you on track. Okay, we understand that students are a very, very busy population in the country. Okay, especially if you're in grades 10 or 12, you are very, very busy. So it can be very kind of natural for you to kind of fall off the track when you have some things in plan. But if you do have it organized, if you have a plan in place, it's easier for you to get those things done. Okay, so like I said, set your own pace. Some of us are very, very schedule oriented. I am somebody who cannot work without a planner and a calendar. Whereas some of my friends actually ridicule me for doing so. They're more free flowing, they take things as they come. So it really depends on who you are and how you are as a person. Some things will work, some things won't. Okay, now with everything else, make alternative plans. Okay, just right now, the situation this today, right, that we're all in, we do realize the importance of making alternative plans. Have a plan B for everything. Okay, and one thing to also remember is that you might not feel productive at all times, or you might not feel like motivated at all times. Don't be pressurized to just do things because everybody else is doing it. So do take a moment to breathe, to see what you really want to do, and then plan out your journey. Okay, now also one thing that we're getting a lot from students and parents right now is that I'm not sure that the effort that I'm putting in right now, is it even going to be worth it? I'm not even sure if I'm going to be applying, or if I'm going to be able to go. So there's a lot of questions up in the air, and we understand that this is a challenging time for everybody. It is a challenging time for us advisors, and we are trying to find as much information as possible to get back to our students with that information. So do think a little bit about that. Yes, this time does seem a little out of control, and out of control can bog you down. Uncertainty definitely can bring you down a little bit. But the one thing that one of my school counselor friends told me this is, I'm telling my students that a lot of things are not under your control, but how you spend your time is in fact under your control. So do think a little bit about, what can I do? Be flexible. Some of your plans may have been canned. Okay, I mean, you had all these plans for the summer, you wanted to do this, but it's not going to work out. Or can you think of ways to maybe adapt it to a different situation? Can you try and do something else instead? Do be a little positive about the situation and see if you can be adaptive, because that also will speak volumes about you. Okay, now coming on to the actual plan, right? I'm just going to talk a little bit about the roadmap. Okay, so like I said, a lot of people will start early. Okay, and that's great. In fact, last year I remember a parent came to me with a document. There was a resume, and his son was just in grade, I think early, starting grade 9, and he already had a plan for the next 4 years. So he had planned which summer exchange program he's going to go for, which course he's going to do online, or which sport is he going to play for grade 9 and 10 and then drop in the 11th. So things like that. I mean, there are people who are super organized like that, or but some of us are not so much. So again, make your own timetable, set your own pace. it's good to start early, okay? Because if you're especially looking at a US university, they are going to want to know what you did in these 4 years. So grade 9 is a good time to start, okay? You might be doing something since a long time and just continue that, which is great. So grade 10, also a more time to explore, to try out new things, to excel, to compete, right? Grade 11 is when it starts to get a little tighter, okay? Because in grade 11 you will also start talking about, you know, your school counselors. In fact, your school will start telling you about standardized testing, or they'll start having workshops on career guidance and things like that, you know. So grade 11 really is your last chance in many ways to build a profile, okay? Not that you can't do it later, it's not the end of the world if you haven't done so anything already. Maybe then just choose a few activities that you're interested in, you know. You don't have to really kind of have a huge load on your plate. You know, pick a few things that you're really good at, or you want to excel in, or you want to try, and then work on that, okay? Because in grade 12 you are going to be into the application process, so trying to do activities at that point is going to be difficult, because a lot of your school breaks are going to go in studying for exams and things like that, okay? So do if you have like if you're starting early, it's good for you, okay? The other thing to remember, students, is that some of you might want to drop a few, you know, activities, which is fine. A lot of students ask us, you know, I'm going to go to grade 11, my mom will not let me do this anymore. What is it good? What should I do? Now here also, think a little bit about why do you want to continue doing this activity, or why have you chosen this activity? Now, so for example, you have thought that, okay, I'll so let me tell you a little bit about how the universities look at your profile, okay? Now, doing just an activity for the sake of it, just because it looks good on your resume, it'll go into your activities list in your application, that's not the right approach. So universities want to see, and they can see that if you've done an activity for 6 weeks, or as opposed to an activity which you've done for just 1 week, you know, it just goes to show that, okay, you weren't really committed, or it was a one-time thing. So they want to see you go deeper into that activity. Don't do certain things just on the superficial, on the surface level. If you are, say, a member of a club, try and do something actively in that club. Now, you know, just sitting and being a sitting member is not going to cut it. So try and be more proactive. So just every time you're thinking of taking on an activity, see how you can kind of raise the bar a little for yourself, and if you can be a little bit more involved, okay? So this is just the kind of timeline. Now, I'm just going to check in and see if we have everybody here. Right. So students, moving on to the actual exploration bit. And this is why I feel like being a student once again, because there's so much to be done. There's so many activities, so many opportunities. So let's talk a little bit about what are some of the activities that you kind of can delve into. Okay. And I would like to hear from you. If there are any students over here, tell us what are some of the things that you're doing right now sitting at home. So how has this situation made you think a little bit about what you want to do? Maybe you wanted to do some community service. Can you do it virtually? Can you do it remotely? Are you writing a blog maybe? So tell us a little bit about what you're into. So in the meantime, we'll just go through a list. Now, like I said, this list is not exhaustive, okay? This is not a template. This is not the formula to get into a US university. Please, it's just a discussion on some of the things that students could very well be into. Now, I'll just give you a few examples before I start, okay? These are real students who've actually worked with us over a period of time. And some of these activities might seem very mundane to you or very regular, okay? But they did get into US universities, they got in with scholarships, and they got into schools of their choice. So nothing is big or small, okay? And you don't necessarily have to win the Nobel Peace Prize to get into a US university, okay? But it is really about your experience and what you've learned from that activity and what it says about you, okay? So for example, I had a student about 3 or 4 years ago who, you know, was pretty shy actually to begin with, but you know, on his way to school, he used to walk it to school because it was nearby. There was a garbage dump along the way. right? And it was exposed, it was not covered, there was all sorts of filth around it, and just an unpleasant experience for him every day going to school. So he decided to do something about it. Now, a student of grade 11, grade 12, wondering what to do, he started posting it on the municipal corporation's page, the social media Facebook page. And you won't believe it, he did this for almost 5 months. So every week he would take a picture, get some petition, tag a few people, tag them, and talk about this issue. Okay. And try to raise awareness of this issue, try to get people in his community involved. Okay. And if I were a student, if I were him, I'd probably give up after 4 months or maybe 2 months even, right? But he really felt for this cause. He really believed in it, right? Because it impacted him. It affected him in some way. And you won't believe, 6 months later, like a month later, the municipal corporation responded on that message, several messages, and they actually built an enclosure to keep the garbage inside, So this is a very, very tiny sort of an example, and it doesn't even have to do with a city level thing, it's just around his community, his area. But he spoke about this in his essay. And the university, obviously, he spoke about his journey and the fact that he persevered and how it actually impacted. So think a little bit about students, that universities are looking for students who are proactive, who can take initiative, maybe demonstrate leadership potential. And leadership potential doesn't necessarily mean house captain or vice head girl, etc. Okay, it could very well just be, maybe you have taken you're leading the way for maybe just some students in your class, or maybe you're helping out your younger sibling, at home. So there are ways to demonstrate leadership potential in other aspects as well. Just another example is, we had a student who used to love recording bird voices, and that was his thing to do. And he recorded over 200 bird sounds, and he wrote to Cornell University's library. They apparently have a library for this, and he was able to contribute to their collection. So again, a very, very unique thing. I do not have many students wanting to listen to birds, So it's really up to you. This is we have students who are very, very passionate about one aspect, and you can see that their life is all about that. But we also have students who are, those all-rounders, or really well-angled students who take 2 or 3 things and are really, really good at it, or are really, really interested in that, So think a little bit about what are some of the things that you really, really like to do. If your mom and dad tell you, go and sit in your room or do something, don't, what is the first thing that you kind of like to do? Or what are some of the first few subjects that you actually pick up to study? These kind of things will also tell you a little bit about what you could really be into or what you enjoy doing. Okay. And do reach out to us. We'll help you, to brainstorm ideas. So let's look at a little bit about self-learning. Okay, this is a big one and very, very easily accessible. A lot of students are going in for massive online open courses. Okay, these are universities around the world are offering really, really good, quality subjects, courses on various fields of study. So if you want to upskill yourself, if you want to learn something just before you start college, you could take up one of these courses, right? So you have Coursera, Udemy, edX, Udacity. I'm sure you have a few others that you know of. Please go ahead and enroll yourself in one. The fact that you actually complete one is also showing that you're interested in, that particular subject. It could speak volumes about your passions, your interest areas, your knowledge, and the fact that you're committed to that particular field of subject. So if I'm applying for, say, chemical engineering, and I'm doing a course related to that, a university gets to know that, okay, this child is really, really serious about this subject. So think a little bit about the courses that you want to do. Some of these courses are just for the fun of it. You want to learn something because you're curious about that particular course. That's okay to do. But this does not supplement or kind of compensate for many other things that you could do. Now, if you do one course, if you do 3 courses, if you do 7 courses, at the end of the day, you're doing courses. Yes, you love to learn. That could be one thing that I'm picking up from that activity. But do try to think about other things that you can do as well. Okay, don't be burdened along with your curriculum to complete these courses as well. 1 or 2 is good enough to kind of have on your profile if you're really, really interested. Okay. And nowadays, in fact, you have a lot of, because we've gone virtual, everybody, there's a lot of master classes that are happening. Okay. I'll be sharing a document with all of you towards the end of the session. I've collated a few, websites, a few resources, and you can have a look. There's this really very interesting institute that offers master classes. Do have a look at that and see if you can, if you like something. Of course, there's honors and academic awards. A lot of you are into these things. Honors are any academic awards that your school might award you, or that you might get from a national certifying sort of a body, like the Junior Science Talent Research Examination or the NTSE. Your school could be awarding you. So maybe you've come, in the top 5 for the last 5 years at your school. So you'll get a badge, or you'll get some sort of a notification or an award for that, right? A certification. A lot of students will go in for Olympiads, right? And hackathons. A lot of STEM schools, big STEM universities in the country organize these hackathons, and you could very well be participating in those. And if you won something, then that's really a plus point as well. Okay. So these, in fact, in your application have a separate section. So again, this might be true for some students, it might not be true or applicable to some students, which is okay. Just sharing ideas here. Okay, this does not have to apply to everybody. Now, you could upskill yourself. Maybe you want to kind of really do really well with Excel. I know Excel has huge potential, and I've not even scratched the surface with my own skills. But a lot of students and people can upskill themselves sitting at home right now, or maybe learn a new skill. So there's public speaking, there's art, there's negotiation skills, there's languages that you could take advantage of. And knowing a second language definitely helps, whether you're here, whether you're in any part of the world, it'll come handy sometime. Cooking is, I think, a very big thing that a lot of people are doing right now. And this might not be relevant to maybe just your university application, but it is a good skill to have if you're going to go and study abroad. Okay, so the other one is academic writing. Of course, you'll have academic writing sort of workshops, etc., that sort of support at the university also. But if you come with a strong, command over writing, reading, then you are kind of, you have an advantage in many ways, with other students. Business communication is another. We've actually done sessions on how to communicate with professors, because I feel that sometimes students do not necessarily know how to sometimes communicate on email as well, the do's and the don'ts. So you could probably take up a course on business communication. And one tip that I tell my students is that look at job profiles that you're interested in eventually doing, your goals. Look at the kind of skills that that job requires, and see if you can work towards that. Right. Virtual tours. This is another big thing that's happening at the moment. We are bombarded with information on virtual tours at US universities. A lot of them are giving you a 360-degree sort of a view of their campus, their departments, their labs, their auditoriums, sports centers. So you can sit at home and get a feel of how the campus that you're looking to apply to or are interested in might look like. Okay. Another learning portal, really a learning space, really is a museum, and a lot of students are now able to do virtual tours of museums as well. Okay, and especially if you're somebody who's interested in archaeology, history, curating, archiving, these are good courses and good options to kind of pursue. Practical experience. This is a big one. And a lot of students ask us and parents ask us, how does a class 11 student get a job? Or how does a class 11 student get an internship? Who will take them seriously? And this is something that we do see a lot. Most of our students, in fact, I'm surprised actually sometimes that they do come with some internship or are going to do an internship while they're still, applying to a US university. So the fact is that this is possible. It's not something which is unrealistic. It's not something that does not happen. We have live examples in our students who do this. So look out for opportunities. The key thing to do here is to use your network. Okay, your mom, dad's network, maybe your teacher can help you with some lead that they have. You have to be proactive. I know students who actually written to professors at institutions, submitting a resume and asking them if they can kind of assist them in their research, or if they can do certain kinds of tasks for them. And some of these people have been successful. Okay, I won't say too many, but it's about how you want to use your opportunity, how proactive you want to be. Again, look at job profiles. Talk to adults about the careers that they're in. If you're interested in those particular careers, talk a little bit about what skills are good for, will come handy for you, and try and have them as mentors as well. Okay, these mentors might be really impressed by you and might offer you an internship in the company that they're working for. Okay, so there's internships. I know a lot of students are asking us now, how can we do an internship now? But there are remote and virtual internships available. In fact, I did look up a few websites just yesterday evening, and I found quite a few leads. Okay, so in the handout that I'll be sharing with you towards the end has a few of those organizations also. Okay, startups are very, very sometimes open to receiving students and freshers and things like that, so please do look them up. Job shadowing is another thing that you can do. Okay, just go and observe some professional at work, and to see how they actually do, or what does their day look like, and what does the job look like. You could be doing a sort of virtual opportunities, like manning helplines for a lot of NGOs at the moment. A lot of NGOs are looking for people to do fundraising, and try and see if you can volunteer for a cause. Even a volunteer experience, just community service. A lot of students might think that, okay, that's not a real job, but a volunteer experience also speaks volumes about the fact that you have actually worked in the real world. You have an experience of being in an office or an office environment, dealing with people and seeing how work is done in the real world. Okay, and very surprisingly, and I'm very impressed by a lot of our students. Some of them are actually student entrepreneurs. They have actually started their own organizations or their own sort of startups, and they're doing really well, getting support as and when they need. So I'm not saying you have to start a company or an NGO or a startup of your own, but think a little bit about what you can do in your own communities. Okay. Programs. So yes, summer programs. Now, a lot of our summer programs are moving online. Again, responding to the situation that we're in. Now, one question that I want to kind of raise with the summer programs is that a lot of students and parents ask us that, oh, sabhi kar rahe hain summer programs. Should I also send my child for a summer program? Which one should I send them for? And while it is great that you have the opportunity and the money, the access to maybe send your student or your child to a summer program, it's great. You can do that. Okay. And it's a great experience, but it does not guarantee you admission into universities. And this information we get from universities. They tell us this, right? That it always, obviously, it will be an advantageous thing on your application, especially if you're applying to the same school. They might see it favorably, but it definitely does not guarantee you admission. Okay, so I have parents who probably cannot send their children to a summer program for various reasons. Okay, maybe you can't go this summer for whatever reason, but you can access summer programs here in India as well. A lot of Indian universities, especially the big liberal arts and sciences colleges that have come up, are offering summer programs here in India as well. So my suggestion and recommendation, and how we encourage students to look at, is the curriculum. So don't just go for a summer program thinking about the university's name. Do think a little bit about the curriculum. What is it going to teach you? What is the experience going to be like? And does that meet with your goal, okay, of what you actually want to do? Some summer programs are directed towards a particular subject. So if that's what you want to do, then of course that's a good fit right there and then. But do compare summer programs. Some summer programs, the really competitive ones now, have started asking students for certain tests also. For example, the PSAT exam, or they will ask you to write an essay, maybe even a recommendation letter. So do look at universities and their requirements for these, and you will get to know as to how you need to prepare for this. Of course, at the moment, a lot of them are offering certain kinds of workshops and certain kinds of programs online. Do check those out. The university websites have this detail. The Education USA Academy is another example of a summer program. These are run by US universities, and they are run in collaboration with Education USA. So there's a huge component of advising and applications in addition to many other aspects of the curriculum. You can also obviously go in for exchange programs, cultural exchange programs, and things like that. So there's a lot of options out there. But remember, students, this is not, again, a must. A lot of students feel pressurized, parents feel pressurized to spend a lot of money to do this. Whereas if you can have an equally enriching experience here in the country itself, maybe not doing a summer program, maybe doing something totally different, like an independent research project with one of your teachers, or somebody, or maybe a good volunteer experience. So do think about it. It's not something that is a given. Please do not be pressurized to do so just because a lot of students are at the time being doing this. The other thing that really holds a lot of emphasis for US universities sometimes is research and academic projects. Now, of course, we all know that you have to complete a syllabus, you have a curriculum to do. But besides that, some students are maybe the extra curious sorts, okay? And they want to be able to delve deeper into a particular topic. Okay, I have had students who've gone and spoken to some teachers, asking them for guidance from time to time on doing a research project on their own. So this is not part of your curriculum. It's something that you've taken up. Okay. One of our students, in fact, I just got to know about a student who is doing a survey during the COVID-19 situation on how students are reacting, and what factors are going into their decision making and things like that. Now, a survey or a focus group can very well be done online as well. It's really just about how you want to organize yourself. If you're really passionate about this, these things can very well be easily done online also. Talents, of course, a lot of students are heavily into this. So sports, performing arts, fine arts. A lot of you are into Model United Nations. So you have amazing oratory skills, debating, elocution. These things are also great. So if you've been participating for a long time in these, try and compete now, okay? Or try and take it a notch higher. So that's how it kind of, you showcase yourself. So if you're doing school level, do inter-school, district, city level, move higher if you really must compete, especially if you're looking for certain talent-based scholarships in the US. If you are hoping to gain an athletic scholarship, then you must have a very, very good profile when it comes to sports. You must have competed nationally, or some students go even international. That really, really enhances your chances and your profile. Okay, this list is endless, but I'm just going to go through the quickly. I know it's already 12, but since we started late, I urge you to just continue to be with us for some time, and we'll quickly go into Q&A very soon. Okay. This is the other thing, and this is something that I'm very passionate about individually, is the resume. Okay. A lot of students feel that a resume is something that comes much later in life, when they're a college student, maybe, and maybe when they're looking for jobs, not something that a student of grade 9 or 10 or 11 would need. But hey, just like everything else that's moving earlier, resumes are also a very important aspect now for undergraduate students. Doesn't necessarily mean for US universities, but a resume comes handy for everything else that we've spoken of until now. So say you want to try and do a job shadowing. It would help to have a resume that you can submit to the company, so that they know in a snapshot a little bit about you, your strengths, your skills, your achievements. So do not assume that a resume is something that happens much later. You could very well start one now. You might not be having a chronological sort of a resume where you tell us in so and so year I did this, 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 but it could be a skill-based resume, or what is known as a functional resume. So say one could be leadership, one section. One could be your awards and achievements. One could be community service. So do think about building a resume. At Education USA, we do sessions for this as well. Stay tuned and you'll get to know more about when that's happening. Another thing that I really find a lot of students actually do once they get to the universities in the US is to create a LinkedIn profile. So that's a resume online. If I have to really just kind of describe it very simply. So so many of our undergraduate students, once they reach university, they all create LinkedIn profiles, and they connect with us advisors through that, So, and that's another way for them to reach out and network with people look for job opportunities or work opportunities while on campus and things like that. So build a brand for yourself. Let people see what are your strengths, what are you into. Some students have websites. I do not recommend a website really, but a LinkedIn profile or a resume just does the trick. Many students will express themselves or highlight themselves even through a blog or a vlog, on YouTube, or a blog on WordPress, for example. So when it comes to your application, you could actually pick out 2 or 3 really, those key pieces that you want the university to know and highlight those in your activities section. So you might have a blog of maybe many posts, but just highlight those good pieces that you really want them to know about. And some students are into journaling and checklists because that helps them to be on track as to what they want to do in order to build their brand. That's something that I know a lot of students do as well. So while you're cooped up in the house, of course, a lot of parents, I'm sure, are after your life to start college prep. Do this, do that. Yes, this is a good time to do this. Again, pace yourself as you wish. Have a plan, especially if you are interested in going to the US to study, then a plan is required. Okay, so you could be very well into test prep. We have a lot of online resources now. In fact, most of your tests have gone online as well. And there's a lot of test prep available on websites like Khan Academy, it's so on. Do make use of that. You could start writing essays just to see how you are at writing. I had a student who eventually, at the end of my advising with her, had written 38 essays. Obviously she was, she loved writing, but I also have students who can barely begin, so it's a great idea to kind of just, put your thoughts on paper and see how it's panning out, or what is it that you actually want to talk about. Many of you would actually be, creating accounts on your Common application. It's an application system that you will require to apply to many universities in the US. You also have something called the Coalition application. Now, all of these application systems, there are more, have a section for your activities, So go through that, see what kind of information is required for you to fill out. When you look at university websites, you'll see their requirements. So according to that, create a plan for yourself that, in this summer break, I'm going to focus only on my testing. Or maybe this time onwards, I'm going to start writing my essay and also working on my resume. So create a plan. We also have advising at Education USA. We have some students who work with us through the year. Okay, so while we don't believe in spoon feeding students, we do help them with the application process. We have a 5 steps process, and we help you with from shortlisting, essay reviews, all of that, whatever kind of goes into an application. We also, from time to time, try and create cohort groups. Students who are like-minded and have a common goal, such as applying to the US, they work together on their applications and are a good support system for each other. So if you're interested in being part of any of these, please do get in touch with us. Of course, a general awareness is always appreciated, and it's always good to know things. So while you're at home right now, you can listen to podcasts. I know people who are big fans of some really, really good podcasts out there. It's also material that you can learn, but it's also something that you can just enjoy, Do read. There is plenty to say about reading. I know a lot of you would hate people telling you to read, but that does have a lot of advantages. For example, vocabulary and general information and things like that. Do look at documentaries. Oh, and also the reason why I've put this is because some universities will ask you questions around this. So they'll ask you things like, list down 3 books that you have read recently, or tell us about one author who's your favorite, or a movie that is your favorite and why. So this is not just, this is obviously a lot of you would be doing this. Netflix is, their viewership is going through the roof at this time. But this also comes handy when you're applying to a US university. And memberships, organizational memberships. So this is something that I just think is useful from a very personal perspective as well. Your school is a big resource. Your school counselors are, I know so many of them, okay, because we work with them and we have a very good relationship with a lot of school counselors. They really work hard to help students to apply to US universities and many other countries, not just the US. So use your school resource, talk to your school counselors at some point, go and say hello, get to know them. make sure they know you, especially if you're applying, because firstly, you need them. Okay, they're going to be doing a lot of things on your application, but they are a huge, valuable resource when it comes to a lot of information. Okay, so do get in touch with your school. Do get in touch with maybe alumni of your school. Okay, a lot of alumni are very keen on helping out their alma maters, you know, so they might have job shadowing opportunities. Maybe they want to come and do a workshop, you know, for students. So try and see if you can be in touch with your school alumni as well. A lot of students do not use this resource very well, and I find that this can also be very, very helpful. Some students are also student memberships of certain bodies. You know, you have professional bodies for various subjects. Try and see if you have a student membership. If you're particularly interested in that particular subject, it's good to be a membership. You get a few advantages. You might be invited for some student conferences and things like that. So see if you can be part of some bodies, especially if they're offering you a student membership. I know a lot of you might be members of Rotaract and the Rotary Club and things like that. So see if you can be part of an organization or a professional body. It does have its advantages. And that's just about the exploration bit. There are, I think, at least 10 more activities I'm sure that you can add to that list as well. All right. So if you think we've not added something or we've missed something really important, please do tell us and we will make sure that we have that in our slides the next time as well. I think now we should just kind of go into our Q&A if there's any. And I will also upload the resource, the handout that I had created. Do we have any questions? I want to thank all of you for joining us today. I hope this has been helpful. And this is going to be uploaded on our YouTube channel, and we'll also put up a link on Facebook. So if you want any to share this with somebody who's missed it, please feel free to do so. I will just drop that file right now. Give me a second. In the meantime, students, counselors, parents, if you have any questions, happy to take them right now. Okay. Hold on. Yeah, that's a Word document. The other thing that we are always in the process of updating is actually a resource like this on how to kind of, what can students do in terms of summer programs, etc. We have some major, a lot of big Excel sheets and Google Docs and things like that for this. And I know a lot of the school counselor community is also sharing this with their students. So if you have, ideas, questions, if you have more resources, you want more information, do reach out to us. So we're available on phone, on email, social media every day, Monday to Saturday. So please reach out. You might be talking to an Education USA advisor from Bangalore, from Ahmedabad, from Chennai, but it's all Education USA at the moment. So please let us know if you have any questions. I'm just going to check the pane. I do not see any questions. One second. Has anybody asked anything? If you want to raise your hands and ask something, I can also unmute your mic and we can take a question. Right. So Andy, I'm trying to unmute you. Right. If you had a question, Andy, you can let us know now. Okay, I don't think we can hear Andy. Does anybody else have a question? Okay, I'm going to go one by one. I think Sturi has a question. Sturi, I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead if you have a question. Please ask us.
How should we write the essays? Like, how should we make the most of the essays?
Right, Sturi, so for your undergraduate essay to a US university, is that correct?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So the thing is that the essay, if you have looked at the topics that you get from the Common App, for example, these essays can be very personal, and they range from a broad range of experiences for the student. So with the essays, I tell students that what two three things to remember is to see what are some of the points that you can actually write about that essay. Do you have a story? Do you have a learning that you kind of had in your life from some experience? And also to ensure that you're answering every aspect of the question. So the prompt might have 2 3 questions in forming the entire prompt. Students tend to just take one aspect of things. So they are more focused towards the narrative, telling us a story. It's great to tell a story because that's what you're supposed to do. But the whole point behind the Common App essay or the personal essay is to kind of tell us the analysis of it as well. So why have you chosen this particular topic out of everything else? What has this taught you in life? How has this affected you? So do talk about the analysis bit as well. Now, Sturi, I'm not going to go into detail on the essay today. We actually have a session with the US University on the essay. And if you do have you've liked us on Facebook, you'll get to know when that is happening. Please do join us for that, and you can check our YouTube channel for information on essays in the meantime. Thank you for your
Thank you so
question. I'm just
much.
gonna mute you, okay? All right, I'm coming to AC. Do you have a question for us?
Yeah, hi. I actually wrote quite a few questions in the questions blog. If you could, you want to read them out to you?
Okay, can you just tell me your questions and I'll take them here? I'm unable to see the questions.
Sure. You spoke about the LORs and the problem is that schools want certificates to add to the LORs. Now, you did say that certificates are not important, but in terms of not collecting a certificate and not having it written in the LOR, how does a student manage that? I do have several more questions, so if
you can ask me a question right now. I'll address them.
Okay, so that was one, and there were also, I'm a counselor, so that's why I'm asking you this. That I'm a parent and a counselor, so I get fluxed in between these two things. So there are lots of questions on when and how or will the 2020 batch start. I mean, I don't know if this is the right forum to really address this. And if it doesn't start, that means the batch gets deferred to spring or next fall. How will it affect next year's admissions, which is 2021? The other question is, SAT, ACT is affected due to COVID. Colleges are turning SAT optional. Does that mean that the ones who have already given it are at an advantage? Then the other is about visa issues for the batch of 2020. How would they actually manage?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Okay, so I'm just gonna mute you right now, just so that we don't have any disturbance. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'll just address the first question there about certificates. Now, the thing about certificates is that from the point of view of the application system, you all know, of course, that you're not required to submit your certificates, upload them. But yes, I understand that at a school perspective, from the school counselor's perspective, a school might require to see that as proof. So in that case, of course, see, when I said you don't really kind of need certificates, I also meant from that angle is that a lot of students are about collecting certificates, that, oh, if I do something for a week, can I just get a certificate for that and show it to the university that I've done this? So I think I should have clarified a little bit more in that, is the sense that you do not need to collect certificates for the sake of application. Yes, you will be getting certificates as proof of the fact that you've done that, as an achievement that you've done that, and your school might require you to submit that in order to kind of create a recommendation letter and things like that. But our thing is to caution students from doing things just so that they get a certificate. And that's what I meant when I said that certificates are not something that the university will want to see. And there are ways for universities to corroborate that evidence. We have essays, we have interviews, we have school council recommendations. So there are ways for students to kind of ensure that they are speaking the truth and that they're giving accurate information. At the end of the application, of course, they're also required to sign a declaration. So we tell students that only add that to your application if you've done that particular activity. Do not just do it because you had a, you felt the need to add that to your application. Now, coming to the point of the current situation, I understand that this is a very, very, these questions are normal at this time, and we are getting a lot of these. Just kind of getting information from the official sources, that's what we are relying on. We are in touch with the consular section at the US Embassy and also the Department of State. We have a direct communication through our coordinators with the Department of State. So the fact is that we are actually talking to school counselors as well. And if you do have specific questions with specific cases, we're also encouraging school counselors and students to tell us that via email, because we're collating all this information, and hopefully we will be able to communicate this with US universities or the Department of State and get the right information. The issue with this situation is that it is rapidly evolving and changing almost on a weekly basis now, daily if not daily, and there is a lot of speculation. So we are hearing that universities are offering the online option for a lot of students. Some are also saying that you can start the regular course in spring. So there's a lot to be kind of observed and monitored, but at the moment there are no visa sessions happening. We are yet to hear from the official sources on this, but you can add your email to the comments over here today, and we will keep you posted of any official information and notifications that we receive. Our recommendation to students and parents at the moment is to be in touch with US universities. Some of them are doing a very good job of communicating the different options that students have. And universities and many organizations at this time are being flexible. So if students have done the SAT, like you mentioned earlier, I think universities are going to assess the applications keeping the situation in mind. So they do not necessarily have an advantage or a disadvantage. I think it'll be very important for universities, and they're saying that they are going to look at other things in the student's application as well. So having not done an SAT or an ACT is not going to be a problem for a lot of students, because that is a current reality at the moment. So please give us your email addresses. Leave that one for me here today, and I will notify you of any updates. We are also at a loss for some answers, because we are not too sure when the information goes up for visa sessions, etc. But at Education USA, what we're doing is we're continuing to provide information. If we do have certain questions where we feel we need to kind of relay this further, we are talking to authorities, etc. So please do reach out to us, and hopefully we can make a case and we can get some information out and get the answers that we all need. Okay, so any other questions? So I don't know if Sarani is still here with us. Sarani, you've raised your hand, so I'm going to unmute you. Oh, sorry. Sarani, can you hear us?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Ma'am, my question was related the same. I talked to some universities and all of them are telling that their application process right now has been delayed, but they don't know when they'll put it up again. So I was asking that.
Exactly. So this is unfortunately a very uncertain sort of a time, and I know everybody's looking for answers, but I think universities, organizations, etc., are doing their best to respond to the situation, and people are coming up with solutions, if any. And the ones, and there are some universities already who have started giving notifications as to, if they're reopening for this fall intake, if they're deferring their admissions, if they're going online. So the first point of contact really should be the university. Please be in touch with them. And if you do have any questions about, specifically for visas, it's all of that, you can write into us and we'll see how we can kind of respond to that and help you with the answers.
Okay, ma'am.
All right. Thank you so much. Anybody else raising their hands, have a question? Okay, so I'm gonna unmute Poonam Maheshwari. Just give me a second. There you go. Ms. Poonam Maheshwari, did you have a question? Okay, I think we've unable to reach out to her, so I'm gonna Sukirth Kaur, I'm going to unmute you. Just give me a second. Yes, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Yes, go ahead.
I wanted to ask how necessary are SATs and ACTs, because the school I'm currently in, it's a Cambridge school. It follows the IGCSE and A-level system. And the teacher who's in charge for university admissions over here told us that some universities exempt SATs and ACTs. So how necessary are they?
Right. Okay. All right. So I'm going to unmute you just so that you don't have static and disturbance. Okay, so good. So that's a good question. Now, there's a huge shift in the trends here with the standardized testing, okay, with SAT, ACT, all of that. Now, traditionally and conventionally, US universities did require many students applying to several universities to give these tests, okay, and they still do. Many universities have this as a requirement because it kind of is a standardized way to assess students who are coming from all parts of the world, right? So it does measure your college readiness. So a lot of universities do use this as a tool to kind of have a comparison of sorts with from students coming from different boards, different parts of the world, right? So looking at the university requirements is very, very important. Okay, what are they looking at? Do they require the SAT, ACT, or is it test optional, or do they not look at these tests at all? Okay, so you must look at that. Now, even for schools that are test optional, they will tell us that they don't necessarily require the SAT or ACT for admissions policy, the application per se. But yes, if a student wants to, say, apply for a scholarship, some universities are happy to look at your test scores because that gives them more information about the rigor, about how well you are at particular subjects or general reasoning and things like that. Okay, so it's a good idea to talk to the admissions officers and to find out what the policy for SAT, ACT is at their university, and then accordingly plan. Okay, now a lot of students do also come to us and ask us that I don't want to give the SAT or ACT, can I still apply? And the answer to that is yes, you can. Okay, but that list is going to be a different list. It might be a shorter list than the ones that you originally had planned, but the fact is that universities are divided on this. Some of them require it, some don't. But for scholarships and other priority sort of scholarships, students might need to give the SAT or ACT. Again, my recommendation, check with the university. I hope that answers your question, Sukirth. I'm going to move on. I'm going to unmute Ms. Pooja Davar Rao. Okay. You can go ahead and ask your question if you're still with, if you can hear me. Ms. Pooja, are you still here? Okay, I think I'm going to go on to the next one. Please raise your hands if you need a question answered. We have another Pooja Bhatia here. You had joined us on Facebook as well. Thank you so much for being here. I'm just going to unmute. Did you have another question for us, Ms. Pooja Bhatia? No, are you good? Okay, I'm going to move on to, I think we have time for 2 more questions. Actually, we've kind of very well run out of time, but Andy Agar, I'm going to unmute you. Go on. Do you have a question for us, Andy?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go
great.
on.
Yes, so I have 2 set of questions. One, my elder one got admitted into about 4 universities in US with scholarships. Now, I want to understand what he can do now in his free time to enhance his skills By the time he joins the college in the fall 2020, what can he do now? That is question one. Question two, can you organize a similar session with some already admitted university students or maybe seniors in colleges in the US who could give us an insight about the college life and also the admission processes that they have gone through? So those are my two set of questions.
Thank you so much for your questions. Those are good questions. Firstly, congratulations. It's a good problem to have now that you have to choose between admits as well. So if you have any questions about that, please let us know. What they can do right now is maybe just firstly soak in and kind of enjoy the fact that they've gotten into US universities. But the other thing is to prepare. See, when I remember when I was admitted, the university had very promptly sent me a reading list. Okay, and that reading list spanned about 2 sides of a document. So there was plenty of reading to do. So if there is a reading list that a university is sharing with you, you can also be more proactive and just reach out to them and ask them if there's anything that they should be doing to prepare. So try and do a little bit of reading. I tell students to upgrade their knowledge on Microsoft because that is something that is going to be utilized across. So Google, your Excel sheets, your, especially Excel comes really, really handy. The other thing to do is if your field of subject requires you to learn certain softwares, I know a lot of students will learn programming, they will learn coding, they will learn statistics to use statistical packages at this time because a lot of research happens at US universities. So there are ways for students to kind of prepare for time at college. Some of these skills and most of these skills, in fact, you will have training at US universities also. There will be workshops, there will be orientations. But if you go ready and prepared, you are definitely, at an advantage. So try and see what they can do from the point of view of field of subject and study if they require any information there. The other thing to do is to prepare just for general life. Maybe cooking is a good thing to see because I really underestimated cooking. I always felt I would be able to manage, but yeah, you learn the hard way, but you do learn. Do think about academic writing as well. Students can take courses because academic writing is a different ball game altogether. A lot of students are kind of take some time, in fact, sometimes a whole semester to get used to writing academically, to do referencing. We are going to be doing sessions in the month of almost towards the end of May, June, all the way through July on academic writing, plagiarism. We have our pre-departure orientations also. We might just have to do those online, we're seeing. But most of the panelists for those sessions are students who are currently on, studying in the US or their alumni. And some of them are also professors and Fulbright scholars. So you will get a huge range of, that sort of information as well. So please stay tuned for our sessions. You'll get to know when they're happening. We do a lot of these sessions. In fact, we're trying to offer one for parents, something called Parents Meet Parents, which we'll have to do a virtual format now. But it is basically for parents by parents who have children studying in the US. So stay tuned, Andy, and you'll get more information from us.
My second question was regarding to organize a session with an alumni or maybe a current student, a senior in the college.
Yeah, so we do that. We obviously we cannot represent every college possible, but we have about 14-15 student sessions lined up. We might do it as a group panel. We might do them individually with a university, but we'll keep you posted on when that's happening. We certainly do student-led sessions very frequently at Education USA. So just like us on Facebook or sign up with us, you'll get to know when they're happening.
All right, thanks.
All right, good luck. Thank you. I'm going to mute you, Andy, now. We'll go to Gurpreet Nagpal. I'm just going to unmute you. Yes. If you can hear us, I have unmuted you. You can ask your question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Please go ahead.
Okay, hi. Thank you so much for a wonderful session.
Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to know a little bit more about APs.
Yes, tell me.
I just want to know more about AP exams. Can you just elaborate how useful is it?
Okay, so the AP, the advanced placement exams, are a very integral part of application conversation these days. Now, see, the thing is that in the US, students actually take AP courses while they're in school, right? And then they give exams for that. The main advantage of the AP really is to get college credit. So for example, say I've done AP physics here and I have to do physics as part of my course when I'm at the US university. I might be able to maybe skip one, course and get those credits transferred from my AP credits, right? But of course, universities have in there also they want you to get a high score on your AP. So 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 in order to be eligible to transfer that credit. So APs are usually to tell universities that you have prowess or a strength in that particular subject, and that you are capable of doing that level of study in that particular subject. So it is not a compulsory requirement by US universities in any way. It is not. I mean, now even SAT, ACT are optional at many schools, but it's not as compulsory as SAT or ACT for sure. Okay. So we tell students that if you want to demonstrate or you want to add to your profile, yes, you could do certain APs, but also check the university's requirement and their policy on AP, their AP policy. So if a university is not going to be transferring credits, if you're not going to be able to use that AP score in any way, then you really have to ask yourself that question: do you want to do another test? So many universities in their program requirements will tell you that we will transfer credits for only these AP exams, only these AP courses. If you're an IB student, then there's a different requirement for that as well. So check the university's websites, check their policy, the AP credit policy, and then decide whether you need to take the AP exam or not. We are also a testing center for the APs, our United States India Educational Foundation test centers. So we do advise students on questions regarding the AP. So if you have any specific questions, feel free to reach out to us. But that's how the AP stand with US universities. And many students are pressurized to feel that they need to do many APs, That's not the case really. A lot of universities sometimes will not even accept more than a particular number of APs because they're not going to transfer every credit possible. Okay, so look at the credit policy. That's the first one, and then decide which AP exams you need to give. Because for your subject, they might be very clearly mentioning that we will only accept this AP. So then there really is no point in giving another subject just unless you love testing, which I don't think a lot of students want to do unnecessarily. All right, so that's what the APs are for, really.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, there's one more. Is there any session on OPT and CPT? I would just like to know about that.
Oh, yes. Yes. So we are going into OPT, CPT kind of sessions in the month of May. We are collaborating with a university, actually a designated school official who is the one who authorizes OPT, CPT at US universities, at their university. We are going to be doing a session with them, I think, in the 3rd week of May. So
okay.
we are going to be doing that. So just stay tuned. Do sign up with us or like us on Facebook. You'll get to know our list of events.
Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So I think we have very well exceeded our time here today. And I want to thank all of you for being with us and joining us, and changing course from Facebook to here. I do have a few other questions. I'll be happy to stay back and take them. But I just wanted to thank everybody before they leave, if they have to leave. I know all of you are very busy. Thank you so much. My name is Astha Virk again. I'm sitting in the New Delhi Center. At the moment, I'm home, of course, but I'm from the New Delhi Center. You can always reach out to us and we will be happy to talk with you. Thank you. So Advait, if you're still here, I see that you've raised your hand. We can take a question. Are you still here? Just gonna unmute you.
Yes, ma'am, I'm still here.
Hi, Advait. Yes, please tell me.
Yeah, so Miss, earlier in the presentation, you mentioned that admission officers will be looking at our transcripts from grade 9 to grade 12. So let's say you didn't do enough during grades 9 and 10. but then you bounce back and you do a lot in grades 11 and 12. So college admission officers value those 2 years of grade 11 and 12 rather than grades 9 and 10.
Right. Sorry, could you just repeat the last part of your question? Would they look at grades 9 and 10? Or would they only?
Yeah, so will admission officers value those? So will they value grades 11 and 12 more than what you did in grade 9 and 10?
Yeah, don't worry about that. See, the thing is that there is no hard and fast rule that you have to be super active from grades 9 to 12. We also have students who, sometimes take a dip in their marks in some of these grades, right? So as long as there's an upward trend, if you haven't been able to do certain things in grades 9 and 10, maybe you didn't have the interest back then, maybe you were busy with something, that's okay. As long as, you have things that you're doing in grades 11 or maybe some bits of your grade 12, that's completely fine. Okay, so don't be in, it's not a disadvantage in any way if you do not have some like a fun-filled sort of a year in grade 9 and 10, it's okay. But do make, take an effort to kind of showcase yourself now in your grades 11 or grade 12, whichever grade you're in, and see which activities you want to highlight, which skill you want to highlight, and which strengths do you want to highlight. Okay?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
All right. Any other question, Advait?
No, miss, that was all.
All right. Good luck. Thank you. Right. I think we've answered we have Tanushri. Hi, Tanushri. I'm just going to unmute you. Just give me a second. Hi, Tanushri. Can you hear me? If you have a question, do let me know.
Can you hear me, Asta?
Yes. Hi. How are you? Thank you for joining us.
Hi.
Tell me.
I actually typed the question, but I think so you're not able to see my question. My question is, supposedly if a student misses out on the eligibility, especially it happens with math, okay, or any other subject for the university, generally we get to know that, if the child then does an AP, that somehow is being taken care of. So is it right, or they have to do it in 11th and 12th, the subject?
So let me just see if I've got your question correct. Are you saying that if a student has taken their SAT subject test in grades?
No, no. I'm talking about the eligibility criteria for a university.
Right.
Okay. Now, if the child has not taken that subject in 11th and 12th, okay.
Okay.
And
yes.
Yeah.
Right. So if they're applying for a particular subject, and do they require a prerequisite, those kind of subjects, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And
see,
can AP do the needful?
That's a question which is going to be a little subjective. So we've, this is what we hear from universities, is that sometimes they are able to take a decision based on the student's profile, the entire profile. So if you feel like you've got really good scores in your AP and your other aspects of your application are really good, and there's another way to demonstrate a prowess in that particular subject, you could write to the admissions officer and discuss the student's profile, right? Because we have seen this happen. Some universities have been flexible, have been accommodating as well. They might ask a student to take 1 or 2 prerequisites when they're at university, or maybe do a placement test before they accept them. Okay, so the answer to that is not a complete no, that if you do not have a subject in grade 9, 10 or something, or 11th, and now you want to do that, it's a no, but you could check. But yes, there are certain courses, there are certain subjects that a student might have to take where they're strict about their prerequisites. So that has also happened, and universities are very, very clear about which those subjects are, or what programs those are, and how students can make up for those prerequisites once they get to university, or they have to take certain other exams. So some universities can be very strict depending on course and program, and some I have actually seen universities ask for the entire profile of the student, talk to us, and they're able to make some accommodations for students.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Tanushri.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna unmute Pooja. Khullar, 1 second. Right. Yes, Pooja, if you can hear me, please go on. Pooja, do you have a question? I'll just quickly go to Sukirt and come back to you. Sukirt, do you have another question for us?
I'm sorry, I just had one more question.
Yes, tell me.
I did my IGCSEs from Cambridge, and now I have an option either to do IB A-levels or go back to the CBSE system of doing 11th and 12th. Is there any certain one that American universities would prefer, or like, is there a preferred one?
No, there is no preferred one, Sukrit. In a very simple sort of an answer, but there are a lot of permutations, combinations here, and you can call me up and we can discuss this further. But the thing is that, see, majority of students from India are going through national level sort of boards, right? So you have the CBSE, you have ICSE, and then you have your international curricula, right? So there is no, and we are the second largest sender after China, of course. So many I mean, universities are accepting students from across the boards. So there is no preference per se. But yes, what happens for certain international curriculum students is that because of the way that they're taught, their pedagogy or the teaching methodology, you know, the transitioning for them into a US system is easier or smoother, I would say. I'm not sure if easier is the word. But that could be the advantage that they kind of, you know, enjoy. And if you at IB curriculum, if you're taking certain HL level subjects, you might be, you again can enjoy certain advantages. Some universities might be able to waive off your TOEFL or the IELTS and a certain other courses that you may have to do. Okay, so there is no preference per se. They want to kind of see a CBSE student or an ICSE student or a state board student who demonstrates, you know, the kind of strength and the kind of achievements that they have might just be comparable to a student from the IB curriculum as well. So there is no preference per se. Okay, just the transition sometimes is easier because the systems are very similar in the way they're taught and things like that. Okay. But I'm leaving my number at the bottom. If you have any questions, if you want to discuss a little bit further, you can always ask us.
Okay.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, I think we're going to have to, you know, end the session today. Thank you so much. We have really gone way overboard. I have a list of your questions. I'm able to see the question pane now, and a lot of you have left your email addresses. So please do, if you're a school counselor, do give us your details. We'll add you to our database. And if you're a student, of course, or a parent, we'll also add you to our respective database and keep you posted on our sessions. Thank you so much for attending. Hope you have a lovely day, and we'll see you again very soon for another session from Education USA. Thank you. Bye-bye.